Hello, and welcome to another episode of Inspired Good Fat Life. And we have really been having inspired conversations lately. I don't know what's going on, even in the midst of all this crazy and chaos. I'm feeling a lot of just really cool inspiration. And I'm delighted with my guest today, who I will introduce in just a moment after I make my shameless plug and proudness for Good Fat Life magazine. We are in the middle of our next issue, which is almost jumping up and down excitement, right?
And some great things coming.
And Laurel's part of that process, and we'll talk about that in a minute. And so you can go to goodfatlife.com. And I don't know which camera I'm supposed to look at today. Go to goodfatlife.com and hear about all the fun, inspired and crazy things that are going on. And you can get a subscription and get this trusted best friend delivered to your home. Or you can, if you prefer digital, you can get it digital online as well. So that said, I want to introduce Laurel.
Yeah, Laurel Decker.
Okay. Yep. And so she is a writer and a mom and a property owner in hell.
Yeah.
And she does a lot of really interesting, amazing things. And I love every conversation I have with you. I just find I leave just like, wow.
I always feel the same way.
So
our brains just kind of click. And
yeah, and I'm really proud to say that Laurel is working on the magazine as one of our main contributors, and our meetings are lots of fun. Right?
They are. Man, we come up with some really good ideas, and it's almost overwhelming because we get to this, let's try this and this and this and this, and then it's like, oh, we got to pull it all together and organize it.
And you just used the word that brought us to today's episode, right?
Yeah.
So one of the things, the theme of our episode today is being whelmed, right?
Being whelmed. Yeah.
And that was a word that Laurel brought to the table because we never had really heard it. It's whelmed. You hear, let's be balanced, or I'm out of balance, or I'm overwhelmed, or I'm underwhelmed.
Yeah, I was getting ready for one of our holistic networking group meetings over at Brighton Lighthouse, and I was, trying to get my stuff together for the day, and I leave my apartment, and then I have, things will come up with my kids or work or whatever, so I'm trying to make sure that I have everything packed and everything, and life was really busy, like it is at a lot of times, and I remember thinking, I don't think I'm overwhelmed. I'm definitely not underwhelmed. Like, I don't like being bored. And I really don't like being overwhelmed. And I thought, I think I'm whelmed. And I was like, yeah, I wonder if that's really a word. So I looked it up. So I have a degree in English. I like to joke with people that I can make up words. That's all that my degree is good for. And so sometimes I'll just be like, yeah, I stand by it. That's a real word. And this time, I looked it up, and it is a real word. So I've been using it a lot. I'm whelmed.
I'm whelmed.
Perfectly whelmed.
And there's something I find in wonder about it, because one of the things we've added to the magazine is in Good Fat Life is more wonder, please, right? Mm-hmm. Because at Good Fat Life, a lot of what we do is look for ways. I'll just call them almost life hacks, that we could bring those little moments of wonder into our day, or joy, or appreciation, gratitude, because it is chaotic and crazy, and there's a lot of energy out there that could suck us in a non-healthy way, or
definitely. And you were just talking about, you might start one day thinking I'm going to do this thing, and then somebody needs you to do another thing, and do you say yes, or are you overwhelmed? And is this going to push you over the edge? And so I think that exploration, you talk about more wonder, please. And one of the most important things we can do to keep our balance is to wonder and get curious about what's going on inside ourselves, our own process, our own experience. And when we can find balance and reach that equilibrium, or
that
the whelm,
right, right. And if nothing else, like you said with language, if nothing else, I mean, balance is just like, blah, I'm just tired of hearing it, right?
Yeah.
What does it really mean? But to say whelmed, it feels like there's an energy there, and it's like I'm whelmed. It's like Goldilocks and the Three Bears, right? Yeah. It's just right.
Just right. Yeah. Well, and I think we've had these words around for a while, and it does say a lot about the collective of people trying to find, balance, or the words like manifesting, or I don't know. There's so many.
Or passion and self-care.
Yeah. Self-care. Yeah. And I think it says a lot about what people are reaching for. And so we do have a lot of, we have TikTok and Instagram and all of the social media and everything that's repeating it. But I think they're still really the same thing. Different words, same thing.
But they have, I don't know, I guess that's maybe what we're looking for. And we've talked about this a lot, is something fun and inspired, and that you don't hear it. Because I think once words, or what I'm finding is like self-care, right? I mean, self-care is critical. When you think about it, that concept, that idea, those actions, they are fundamental to living a healthy, happy, whole life, right?
Right.
But the words get so overused that we just glaze over them or go blah, blah, blah.
I think too, one of the things we talked about this the other day is one of the reasons I actually don't have, I have social media, but I don't go on very often. And I have had times where it was really necessary. Same thing with, looking at different religions or constructs of belief, or talking to a friend who has a really strong opinion, or a therapist and so forth, right? You reach for these things because you say, help me understand. And there's a certain point where, haven't we collected enough? And now we do kind of get it. We do kind of have enough. We don't need to keep going back to social media to tell us what's the new buzzword or what's the new thing. So I think there's, again, that's the balance as well, is how much do we pull in from the outside and how much do we have from the inside. So yes, I think all of those things are exciting and they're all fun and new, but at the end of the day, what we're trying to bring to ourselves as well as other people through, our work, and whether it's you as a philanthropist or through the magazine, it's to help us understand inside, like what does bring us joy, what does feel balanced, what does feel amazing, and what brings us, all of the words. What are we manifesting? What passions do we have? And so forth. I think that's the exciting thing about it, is it's so different for every single person, and we offer it so that they can pull it to themselves, magnetize it to themselves.
And at the fundamental core of that is awareness.
Awareness.
I mean, that's really the thing. We were talking about yesterday. Yesterday for me was a really big day in a number of events. And some of the things that were happening, I could have left as, right? It was closure. It was kind of like I had to let go. But as I sat back and took a moon bath last night, right? Because I'm taking this astrology class, and I learned that standing outside for 2 minutes, letting the moon shine on you, is the moon bath, and it's really beneficial. I'm not sure why yet, but
it's beautiful.
It's beautiful. And I was telling one of my friends about it, and she goes, well, what do you do? And I go, you just stand there.
Let the light come over you. Well, and that's one thing I love about our relationship, is I think there's a certain point where I was like, okay, I don't, need anything else. I kind of get it. I've done this whole searching, grasping, looking for things. And then I talk to you and you talk about a moon bath, and I'm like, oh yeah, I remember when I came across that. That's so fun. And you have this sense of delight and almost like curiosity of a kid, probably because you've got your grandkids, and mine are big and grown, and now I have to pressure them to have grandkids. so I can watch them explore the world.
And you don't want to do that, right? Because it's a big deal.
No.
But what I was going to say, so I'm standing there in my moon bath, and but it was like so. But I was awake at 3:30 in the morning, right? And because when I went to bed, the moon wasn't out, and then I woke up and I was like, "Oh, the moon's out." Instead of being like, "Oh, I'm awake.
I go back to bed."
Yeah, it's like, "Oh, the moon's out. I'm going to go take a moon bath," right?
Yeah, that's so fun.
I'm standing there, but it came to me that a couple of things that happened during the day that were so synchronistic. I mean, they were so random and synchronistic, but if I hadn't been where I was doing what I was doing, they never would have happened, and they were freaking amazing. But I didn't see it at the time, right? Because we get focused on the outcome we want it to be.
Right.
Instead of, like you were saying, just surrender and let it go and, keep showing up, right?
Yeah. Yeah, I love that. And like I said, it's so fun to talk to you because I think you do have this sense of wonder. Who is it? Rachel Carson has that book, A Sense of Wonder. And yeah, and
more books, yay!
It's kind of an old one, but I remember when I came across it, in it, there's just a line that says, "Ask yourself when you see something, what if I had never seen this before, and what if I never see this again?" And I still think that sometimes how, we'll look at something, oh, it's the moon. We've seen the moon a whole bunch of times, but now it's that you have this fun little twist, almost like a person seeing it for the first time, and how much better does that feel than lying in bed and being like, go back to bed. You have things to do tomorrow. Why aren't you sleeping?
Exactly.
Why don't I just go and play with the moon a little bit?
Play with the moon, and I'll be damned if after I do that, I go back to bed and I fall into this beautiful, easy sleep. So I don't know I don't know what the magic of it is, or I don't know what I'm sure there's a chemical thing, because there always is. I have no idea what it is, but now I'm really curious to find out.
That's another thing we've been talking about is we hear all these things and they align and they make sense, but they also don't. How do you break it down? How do you break it down to a science about what happens to your body or your soul when you take a moon bath? When you take a moon.
So that's and that's going back to the magazine, and we've really been focusing on cycles, right? And so the reason that I signed up for this course is because we wanted to, we're really diving into the cycles, the circadian rhythm, our 24-hour cycle, our 28-day moon cycle, the 4 seasons of the year, and then our life to death cycle. Yeah. And I have to say, I had no idea when we decided to do that what's to come. And I know we've just barely scratched the surface, but it's mind-boggling. How perfect this is.
I agree. That one, I'm so glad we're exploring that, because we could really, really find so much all the time. But what's coming to mind for me right now is the beauty in it being a cycle, because we like to have a finite end to things. We measure things in terms of, 1 day, 1 hour, 1 month. And when we watch we were talking about how watching your granddaughter turn 9 and how it was for me when my kids were young, and it's the end. It's the end of their first year. It's the end. And I would kind of get so emotional about it. And now I'm starting to see this as, it's the beginning of something else. It's the end of this, but it's the beginning of that. And that just feels better to look at what's ahead rather than, we're just putting the end on this thing.
They're not babies anymore, or they're not.
So we have our, sleep cycle, and everything is just so fluid. Everything is just so, it all comes together the way it should, and we don't have to, make it really measured.
I love that. And I love the fact that we can have conversations around it, because those feelings are real.
Yeah.
Right. Seeing my we were saying, I've become that person, like, stop growing. And, I remember my grandma saying that to me, and I'm like, oh, grandma, stop it. Right?
Well, I have a good story for you. My son just turned 20, and my daughter, who was turning 17 a few weeks after that, she was helping me get ready for his birthday. And I had brought all the balloons and streamers and everything, and she was helping me put everything up. And she goes, Mom, why did you get a 1 and a 9? And I said, oh my gosh, I think in my head, I can't handle him turning 20. I was preparing for 19th birthday. And I laughed with her and I said, don't worry, I'll just turn the 9 upside down for your birthday coming up. And she's like, Mom, I'm turning 17. I said, I know, but I just can't. There are some times where I think subconsciously I'm pushing against it, but it is nice to see them grow. And but that one, they're never going to let me live down, because I truly was preparing for his 19th birthday and he's 20.
My dad will say, how old are you again? And I was like, what? You don't remember? And then it's like, sometimes I forget. Right?
Yeah.
It is funny how that works. But I am noticing when we can stay in the wonder, watching my kids with their kids, there's just holding. I just took a picture of my son with one of his kids in each of his hands. We were walking out of Target. I mean, it's like such a mundane, random moment, and it literally brought me to tears. And I had to take pictures. It was magic. And so then you go, okay, it's the life cycle. It's how it works, and embrace that, and don't get stuck on the fact that the baby stages are gone, or this or that. So anyways, it's all good. That. But it's nice to be able to have the conversation, so I don't get stuck in it.
Yeah, it does help, especially, and I don't have any grandkids, but like I joked that I want to pressure mine to have them. I really don't, but I can't imagine what that will feel like. But at the same time, it's beautiful for me to have something to look forward to, because I think that does also help me get less stuck in the, I wish he was still in school.
Right.
And, so I think in going back to the magazine, especially because it is something that we are so passionate about, and I'll use that word, but you describe it as your best friend. And in a lot of ways, when you talk to someone else who has been there, or who has explored the thing that now kind of has landed in your lap and you don't really know what to do with it yet, when you have someone who can guide you and just kind of say, oh, this is what I've found about that. And it's interesting to me, because anytime I'm like, we're going to share the things that we've learned and we're going to tell the people. And you said the other day, you said, we're just getting curious with people too. I mean, of course we don't know everything. I mean, clearly we don't. We just have been exploring these things for quite some time. But I love your sense of wonder that, what else is there? You just get excited about, moon baths and avocados, and the fact that those are so nutritious, and, who knew? And so all of the things we just keep on exploring and sharing and listening and saying, what else? What else? Our readers share so much with us as well. So it's just so fun.
But what you just said is like, yes, because there's so much, we spend so much of our lives on the surface. Mm-hmm. And so it's really been fun to kind of like dig deeper and just ask a deeper question, not in an offensive or a therapist, right, I have to go into therapy way. It's just, like I said, with curiosity. This whole grandma thing, it's kind of, it's been a whole nother chapter, right? Yeah. Because I had the perfect grandparents for me as a grandchild, and I really missed them. And now it's like I'm in that place. And what does that look like? What kind of a grandma do I want to be?
Your grandkids love having you visit and having you around, I'm sure.
We're all having fun. But and I also know that there's going to come a point where, it's like, oh, yeah, hi, Grandma. I got to go. My friends are waiting.
I mean, it could be. But I think, I look at how my kids look at their grandparents, and they're just still
that makes me
they're in awe of them.
But to hear that, and knowing your kids are 20 and 17, I go, okay.
So they love their grandparents. Yeah.
I don't have to feel stressed that they're going to grow up and move away.
No,
right?
You'll have fun. You'll have fun at every stage, just like we did with our kids when they were growing. But yeah, it is interesting. And I remember when we first started meeting with the magazine, when you first had me come on as a copywriter, and who was it? Mary came in and she says, I just love this time of my life. This is so great. This is the best. And for me, I'm just a bit younger than both of you. And
you're a whole generation younger.
You agreed with her. Yeah, this is awesome. And I just, for me, as transitioning from that, like, I'm not really a young, I'm not in college. Now I'm not a young mom. And now I'm in kind of that like awkward stage now where it's like, what do I have to offer if, I'm not like this young, energetic, on the PTO board and, cheer coach for my daughter and all this stuff. And it is, I guess, reassuring, to hear people who are that next stage ahead and to hear you be excited about it. Because for so long, we've just heard, actresses will say, I aged out, or, you just hear the kind of doom and gloom about aging. And so I love this time in my life. And I love that I can say, oh my gosh, these women say the next phase is also awesome. Okay, I'm just going to keep on enjoying, what it is now, what it is coming is looking pretty
That's
great.
good. And which brings us back to why it's so important that we take good care of ourselves, right?
Yeah.
So we have that vitality and that energy and the mental clarity to get curious.
I love that. Yeah. And I stopped by Mary's to get some magazines, and we had a great conversation and watched the birds, and she's got a cardinal nest. And I think we kind of magnetize to other people who share the same interests. And so I love, our readers are coming to us because they're kind of in our, the old buzzword was tribe. They're in our tribe. They're, on our brainwave. We're all seeking that health and wellness and vitality, and to continue that for a really long time, not just in our physical health, but spiritually and mentally, emotionally, to find other people who generate that for us, and we generate that for them.
And we can all be whelmed together.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. Right. And I agree. It's nice to be able to feel the energy that comes from you coming in and saying, I'm coming from this meeting, or I'm going to that meeting. And yeah, I see you smiling and being happy and being whelmed, perfectly whelmed.
Whelmed. Well, thank you for bringing that word to our world, right? It's delightful. I love it. And whenever I ask somebody, it's like, are you whelmed? They go, what? What
does that mean?
What's that mean? Tell me more. And so on that happy note, a reminder to go to goodfatlife.com and check us out. Like I said, we do our best to be really a trusted best friend.
Yeah.
Right. And we certainly don't have all the answers or know a lot. But we're open to connecting. That's what we love to do. And so thank you so much, Laurel Decker, for being here with me and for being part of the Good Fat team. And let's go out and live our good fat life.
Thanks, Sherri. Thank you for having me on.